How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode. Today we're gonna make something really funky. Stuffed burger buns. And they came out so nice. I mean, you have everything in there. Your beef, your cheese, sauce, pickle. The perfect all-in-one, mess-free burger experience. Now let's get to it. Here's what we'll need. For the dough, some strong white bread flour, milk, an egg, some soft butter, yeast, salt, sugar, some sesame seeds to sprinkle on top, and 1 egg yolk mixed with 1 teaspoon of milk for glazing. This is a really nice glaze, I use it all the time. And now for the filling, we'll need some ground beef, some onion, garlic, Worcestershire sauce, salt and pepper, some tomato, some of that plastic cheese, which goes perfectly in a burger, pickles, and for the sauce, we'll have some mustard, ketchup and mayo mixed together. But of course you could fill these buns with whatever you like. You could even just make everything separately and use the buns as they would be traditionally used in a burger. All the elements of this dish are great on their own as well as together. Now with the filling, you just want to mix the beef with the salt and pepper, Worcestershire sauce, garlic and onion. Leave it on the side. There's a few more things we need for this recipe. A tray with some non-stick paper, a bowl for mixing our dough in, scales, a dough scraper, a temperature probe, a brush and a pot for cooking our filling in. Now my kitchen is around 22 degrees Celsius, so I want my milk to be quite cold, around 8 degrees, so I'm using it from the fridge. Of course we're kneading this dough by hand, so it's going to warm up quite a lot, so always use cold milk when you're making bread like this. So get a bowl, add the milk, the yeast, the salt, the egg, the soft butter and the sugar. This dough is really simple, there's no additional steps, we're simply mixing everything together and on we go. Once you combine all your ingredients, give them a good mix. You want to dissolve any large salt and sugar crystals and hydrate the yeast before adding the flour. Speaking of the flour, it's time for that. Add it, grab your scraper and mix this to a dough until there's no more dry flour left. And if the scraper is not doing the job, continue on by hand. You want to mix your dough in the bowl until there's no more dry flour to avoid making a mess on your table. Now tip it out on your table, we can start kneading. I use the regular kneading method here, press down and forwards with the heel of my right hand, then using the fingers of my left hand I fold the piece of dough under the heel of my right hand, then turn it and repeat. It may be slightly sticky to begin with, but that's just because there's a lump of butter in it. As we keep kneading it will get smoother. We want to knead this dough for around 6 minutes in total. And once it's become nice and smooth and not sticky anymore, round it off and we can start fermentation. Now pop your dough into the bowl and always take the temperature, don't forget that. You want this to be around 26 degrees Celsius. Of course it will depend on the temperature of your kitchen. And if your dough is too warm, it will ferment rapidly. If it's too cold, it will take longer. Keep an eye on it. In my kitchen, it took around 2 hours for the first proof. You really want to see it puffing up. And whilst your dough is fermenting, you can cook the filling. Get your pan nice and hot, add the oil, and dump in the beef mix. Now you really want your pan to be smoking hot, and once you add the beef, don't stir it, simply spread it out to cover the surface of the pan and leave it, don't touch it for around 5 minutes. You want to get some good color on it, and then stir it up and cook it until it's done. Remember, color equals flavor. Now it's been around 2 hours, as you can see the dough is puffed up really nice. Now we can divide it. Grab your scales, weigh your dough, and divide it into 6 equal pieces. I would always suggest using your scales for this, you don't want to end up with wonky balls, right? You could also make these into mini burger bombs, maybe divide this into 8 or even 10 pieces. That's up to you. I like them nice and big, so I did 6. After you divided your dough, you need to pre-shape. Take a piece of dough, flatten it out, then fold the edge over the middle, going around in a circle until you reach the point where you started. Then flip it upside down, tighten it against the table, pick it up, pinch the seam together at the bottom, and that's your pre-shaping done. Simple as that. And if you've never done this before, you got 5 more to practice on. Luckily for me, I've been doing this for so long, the dough knows what to do by itself. Now once you're all set, cover your dough balls up. We need to leave them to rest for around 30 minutes. At this point they're nice and tight, you wouldn't be able to fill them or roll them out. So we need to let the gluten relax before we do the final shaping. And here we are. grab one dough ball, flatten it out, and you can do this by hand, no need for a rolling pin or anything like that. Actually doing it by hand is better than using a rolling pin. We need to try and control the thickness of this, so you want the middle to be thicker and the edges to be thinner. And don't worry, it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. As long as the middle is thicker and the edge is nice and thin, start filling it up. And of course, like I said earlier, you can fill these with whatever you like. Just don't use too much filling. I've got my cheese, my sauce, the pickles, the cooked beef, then top it off with some diced tomato, and finally going to finish it with a bit more cheese, so there's cheese on the bottom and cheese on the top. The more filling you use, the more difficult it will be to close this bun up. But here's how you do it. Pick up the side with one hand, and then with the other hand, pass the dough over and just pinch it together. It's like you're making a massive dumpling basically. And make sure everything's nicely pinched together and sealed up, because you don't want any leaks. And if you feel that you can put more filling in it, then the next one, just fill it up more. I know I could have added more cheese, just didn't have any more at that point. Very unfortunate. But here we are, all shaped up, ready for the final proof. Oh man, the anticipation is killing me. These were some seriously good burger bombs. Now at this point, you can start preheating your oven, 160 degrees Celsius with a fan on. The final proof should take around 1 hour. You want to really see them puffing up. So before these hit the oven, we need to glaze them and sprinkle them with sesame seeds. Brush them with the egg yolk and milk glaze all over. And be gentle when you do this, you don't want to poke any holes or deflate your buns. By the way, you could brush them, leave them to dry for 5 minutes and brush them again. I didn't do it this time, but sometimes it's a nice way to add an extra glaze to it. Now last but not least, the sesame seeds. Now I created this little stencil out of paper. Of course you don't have to make any stencils if you don't want to, just sprinkle them freely. But it does give them a nice unique look. But if you don't like sesame seeds, or if you want to use different seeds, go ahead. I always think that a classic burger bun should have some sesame seeds on it. But here we are, let's get these bad boys in the oven. They'll take around 30 to 35 minutes. And if they're baking too much on one side, you can turn them around halfway through the bake. But once they're golden brown all over, they're nice and done. I mean, look at that, don't they look amazing? I had never tried these burger bombs before, and they came out perfect. I had seen them a couple times floating around on the internet, and I just had to make my own version of it. So what do you reckon to these? Have you tried them before? I know I'll be making these again for sure. The buns were so soft and fluffy, the filling was nice and moist and full of flavor. But as always, if you have any questions or suggestions, let me know down in the comments. Check out my other videos with enriched dough, a whole playlist of it. And if you are new here and you really love baking, and if you watch the video till the end, you might as well click that subscribe button. My channel's full of delicious recipes. I've got so much more on the way. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.